Hello everyone, I'm Rachel Tessman from stampyourartout.com, and today my Wednesday video is pre-recorded because we are in the midst of garage sale week, crafters garage sale week. So I cannot be live today with all of you, but I hope that you enjoy the card that I have to share. We're going to be using a stamp set from the promotional brochure that's going on right now, July and August 2022 celebration. In this promotion, basically the deal is you order $50 worth of product, you get to pick items that say $50 next to them for free. Those are free items. There's lots of $50 level items in here. You can see we've already passed 5 of them. And then we get to this page. We have over here this stamp set that's called Amazing Phrasing. And it is free at the $100 level. There's a few other items that are free at the $100 level. But this one is the one I'm going to focus on today because there's a stamp sentiment in here that made me think of the Rays of Light stamp set, which is also pretty darn new. It got released in the 2022 through 23 annual catalog, and it's a wonderful background stamp. Obviously, it makes a sunshine looking image. So we're going to be combining these two stamp sets together, and we're going to make an easel card today. This is the card that we'll be making, although we're going to make a different version of it. We're doing it with slightly different colors because I ran out of some of the designer paper pieces that go on the inside. Because I made a mass load of these. In fact, here's the ones that are left over. I made a ton of these because I loved them so much. Woohoo! And then it says to another year around the sun. And you can see what I mean by an easel card. It props up against a raised section on the inside so it can be on display. Isn't that fun? All right, so we're going to be using slightly different colors. Instead of this early espresso ink and the early espresso cardstock behind that layer, we're going to go with a purple color called Gorgeous Grape. But let me first show you the designer paper that comes in this pack. This is the Hues of Happiness pack of designer paper, and on the back side of every pack we have coordinating colors. Gorgeous Grape is one, so is Early Espresso. I think, nope, it's not listed in there, but you can see it in there. There's browns inside the flowers and stuff like that. So let's take a look at 5 of the 6 sheets. I have 12 by 12 pieces of all of these double-sided papers. It does come with 6 double-sided papers, but my 6th one, like I said earlier, is kind of used up. I'll show you that one at the end here. So double-sided papers, you get 2 of each of the 12 by 12 double-sided papers. Very, very pretty patterns, floral patterns in here. And you can see kind of a rainbow effect going on lots of the designs. Gorgeous, right? And this other one, the 6th sheet here, it actually has flowers that flow into the yellows, oranges, and reds and pinks and stuff over on this side. But of course I was using all of those little strips up. So we're gonna lean towards the cooler colors combined with the yellow. And let's start by cutting our cardstock base. I'm going to use the 8.5 by 11 Daffodil Delight cardstock, and we're going to cut in half in this direction. So if this is 8.5, we're going to cut at the 4¼ inch mark here. That's where we're lining it up to, and we're going to slide our dark blade through. Then we're going to rotate this piece, and we're going to score halfway through the 11 inch mark. So 11 inches, half of that is 5.5, so we're bringing it to the 5.5 inch mark here, and we're using our light blade now to score. We're going to score there, but we're also going to score in one other place because we have to create that easel effect here, the little curve in that direction. So we have to score another halfway point. So between 5.5 inches and the 0 mark, halfway from there is 2¾ inches. So we're bringing it to the 2¾ inch mark, and we're going to score once more. And then you'll see, if we fold in that direction, you can see how it creates that easel. We need to cut one other layer though, because we need a full layer on the front, and this full layer is going to be bordered by the background base piece. so it's not completely a full layer, as you can see. We're going to cut that 1/4 inch smaller in each direction. So instead of 5.5 inches, we're going to go to 5.25 inches, and we're going to cut. And instead of 4.25 inches, we're going to go to the 4-inch mark. So we're just cutting each direction 1/4 inch thinner, and that allows you to get that layer with the 1/8 inch look all the way around the sides. This will of course be attached to the front like that, and it will only secure to the bottom portion of the base part of the card. This is the part that we're going to stamp with the sunshine. So we're going to hang on to that, and we actually have another piece that is a different color. This is our basic white. It's the same size. So because I'm going to do multiples, I'm going to bring in the Stamparatus tool. So the Stamparatus tool is a positioning tool. It's very, very awesome. You can actually, it comes with 2 of these, and you can have one here, you can have one here, you can flip them, you can make them do kind of a staggering effect. You'll need to look up like lots of different videos on the Stamparatus, because there's amazing things that this tool can do. I'm going to bring in an extra tool. This is a magnetic sheet. I got it from Stamp and Storage, and I like to add that just for an extra little layer of thickness. So because we are going to use a stamp that already has foam in it, it's one of our cling mount stamps, so it's got the foam layer there, the red rubber. We can take away this layer here. Okay, this we don't need. So we're going to be, that way we'll have, you know, we don't want to have too much thickness. But I am going to bring this in because I think, you know, adding a little boost helps a little bit. And then we also want to have some grid paper, so we're going to bring in our small grid paper. Now, if we were using stamps that are totally clear, the photopolymer kind, like in this stamp set here, then we would need that extra boost because we have that thickness that the cling mount has, that's taken away. So that's where you would need this extra little boost there. I could go on and on about the Stamparatus, but again, you can find videos and tutorials for that tool. So we've got our grid paper. This is our small grid paper, and it fits perfectly. It's made for the Stamparatus, but you can use it for other things too. And then we're going to just kind of position this stamp. Now, normally, well, you have a little decal that you can put on your stamps, but I'm kind of a lazy stamper, and so I don't always use it. You can bring your plate down this way or from the left to the right, whatever you want to do. But one thing you want to keep in mind when you're going to position your paper so that you can stamp, you don't want to have it, you know, right up to the edge, because then there's that risk of it not stamping well. So you kind of want to have it in the center or at least an inch away from the edge. So I'm going to position this here. My stamp is clean. In fact, I'm going to put this on here just to kind of position it before I put it onto my grid paper. And then I'm going to lay this down and I'm going to peel this away. And that's probably a good spot for it to be. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my magnets, and it comes with 2 magnets that are on the bottom. I've wrapped some packaging tape around it, washi tape, just because it's easier to grab. And you want to make sure that these magnets do not come really close to each other because they are super strong and they will snap together. Now, if I was using a smaller stamp than the cardstock, I would use the magnets, but I forgot. We are not using the magnets on this one. Instead, we are going to just put a little bit of temporary adhesive behind here. You can also use just a touch of seal adhesive. Now you can see kind of where I've laid my design. It's going to be about there, and then this stamp was going to be, I think it was positioned here. I better do it again. Hang on. We've got a little adhesive back there. We've centered it. We're laying it down. And now let's just press it in the middle there, and it should stay still. So now you can see I use these lines to kind of guide myself as to where that stamp is going to go. And I can take and grab it with the plate, and now it's clinging to this plate up here. Before I stamp it onto my paper though, you can see where the paper is. It's lined up 1/4 of an inch away from this edge. So I'm going to ink this up just a little bit with my Daffodil Delight ink, and I'm just wanting to hit the edges here. And the reason why is so I don't waste a lot of ink, but also so that I can kind of get a feel for where my paper can go and making sure that it's straight. So now I've got my design on here. Then I can bring my cardstock back in. There's my little bit of sticky, and I can really make sure that it's going to work in there. And it is. It's not going to go outside those corners. And I decided I'm going to give it a little bit more reinforcement, but again, I'm not going to use the magnets because this stamp is much bigger than my paper piece. Instead, I'm going to use a couple strips of cardstock. So we're going to take and adhere the cardstock right above that section and right below on this piece here, so that it kind of gives a guide to where my cardstock can lie. So if this does happen to pop off after I stamp it, I can put it back in there right inside that dotted line that is showing. Okay, let's ink it up. Now you can see on here you're going to have some areas where it doesn't stamp, and that is just the way the design is. So don't freak out if it has little sections where it doesn't stamp. It's the texture of the image. Now press it down, and as we pull it up, you can see the design. Oops, you can see the design that we got. Now this is a well-inked stamp pad. Over time, when we were mass producing this, Teresa and I, we realized that the ink was getting lighter and lighter and lighter. This is one of the first ones. This is one of the last ones. So, you know, if you do not like that dark look, you could remove some of the ink from your ink pad. I love it. I think it looks gorgeous and regal. Now I'm going to pull this away. Now this time, I'm going to stamp onto some scrap paper. So we're going to use full color. Bring in a bit of scrap here. Stamp it down. Press evenly. And then when I peel it up, I'm going to have a lighter amount of ink for my next layer. So this is another way that you can lighten the ink without, you know, taking anything away from your ink pad. I'm just going to put a little adhesive here. Now we press it down again without re-inking. And when I peel it up, I've got my slightly lighter yellow there. Ta-da! I'm now going to cut a couple strips from the Hues of Happiness designer paper. And we're going to cut it to 1 1/4 inches by 4. These layers here are going to go onto my gorgeous grape pieces, and we're just going to add them with seal adhesive. So we'll flip them over, and we're adding them to the cardstock layer just to give them a little bit more strength. If you want your inside piece on your easel card to be just cardstock, that should work. But when you're doing designer paper, sometimes you need to give it a little bit more thickness so it's not as flimsy. Okay, so we have those pieces ready. We're making 2 cards. We're going to do one with a white base, and one with a Daffodil Delight base. So that's the yellow. And grab our bone folder, and we'll give everything a good crease here. Now before we add this layer on the front, I'm going to give it a stamp with our Woohoo. So let's bring in our gorgeous grape ink pad and our stamp images. So we've got Another Year Around the Sun, And we've got our woohoo. I'm going to go ahead and mount this at an angle so I'm not distracted by the edges of my block. Same thing with these two. And those we'll set aside for just a second, but these, the woohoos and the sunshines, we're going to stamp right now. Now my white one, I have to admit, is experimental. I didn't want that yellow to be too dark on it, but I'm not sure if I got it dark enough now. Feeling like it's not quite dark enough. We're going to center this so it's going right through the middle of the sun. And because, you know, this is a stamp, I mean, you could use the Stamparatus if you were doing multiples again, but I had a very well inked stamp pad, plus you can see right through it. So with clear stamps like the photopolymer, you don't have to necessarily worry too much about a stamp positioner. So now we've got those two layers done. I'm going to add a little wink of Stella to the center of the sun. That's kind of like a little painty pen. It paints some shimmer on. And so we're just going to go inside the center circle of our sunshine here, and we'll try to go around our letters. And now we'll set these aside to dry just a little bit. We're going to use our grid paper here to have 3 inches from the bottom of the card. So if you use a ruler, that helps, but we're going to go ahead and shoot this down so that we are going 12 squares from that middle dark line. Okay, so now this is 3 inches from the from this spot, and that's about how far I had this little easel piece go on my finished card. So what we want to do is we want to put dimensionals on the back side, and I put dimensionals on both the top and bottom of this strip. So it's a little bit more than I normally do, but I want to make sure that this is steady. And because the flowers have somewhat of a direction, this is kind of up in this direction, we want to make sure that we're going that way. And we're going to use that dark line to just kind of line up our easel piece. So we're going to do the same thing on the white. And now we have a guide as to where we can stamp on the inside of our card. So we're going to grab those stamps, the ones that say to another year around the sun. Just lightly tap to ink up your stamps. We just have a couple more steps to finish off the card. Again, remember when you add this layer, you only want adhesive on the bottom portion here. So I'm going to go ahead and add my adhesive going right up to that score line. Not going too far out to the side though. You can see where I ended. And then on the bottom of this one here. Now remember, we also had a little bit of adhesive here from the Stamparatus thing. So we're just going to kind of wipe that away with one of these adhesive erasers. And we'll add that to the front so it's centered with an 1/8 inch border all the way around. And then let's do a little bit of embellishing with our iridescent rhinestone basic jewels. And now we have 3 finished cards. This one has the early espresso ink and cardstock and the warmer colors of that designer paper. This one has the gorgeous grape cardstock and ink and the going into the slightly cooler tones of that paper. And then we have one done on the basic white cardstock. I think I still like the yellow though. I think I'm still drawn to that. Very fun. And I'm laughing because I just realized that there is a sample in here using that same background stamp. Oh my goodness sakes. Maybe that's why I thought of it. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this. Now you're going to find information on my website at stampyourartout.com where you can shop the products. You can just visit there though if you want to see photos of the finished cards. You'll also be able to download a PDF, a printable PDF that includes images of the cards, the date, the name of the project, the supplies that I used, and measurements. If you visit my, what day is it? My July 13th, 2022 blog post. So check that out. Now normally I'm live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. This is the card that I shared last week. It's a fun fold card. Really neat, right? And this is using the Awash in Beauty suite of products from the annual catalog. My group, my All-Star Tutorial group, had a blog hop last week that shared all kinds of ideas with this, but we also have tutorials that are exclusive that you can purchase every single month. This first month of July in our subscription period started with the Awash in Beauty suite. So we have 12 other projects that are exclusive. They each have videos. You can purchase or earn those tutorials. More information can be found at my website at stampyourartout.com. But yes, we feature a different suite every single month. And right now we are in a subscription period. So you can subscribe for 6 months worth and pay for just 5 months worth. But that subscription period is only through the month of July 2022. So make sure you get in on that. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and share my videos. I appreciate that. The next time that I go live will be next week on July 20th, 2022, 11 a.m. Central Time. I hope that you're able to join me at that time. In the meantime, I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.